Right, hello everyone. Thank you for coming along. I'm surprised to see so many turning up, so I'm grateful for that, thank you. Today we're going to be doing our first ever Leeds Digital Festival slide deck. So we're going to take you through why you should be effing with video. I'll keep it clean. It's in conjunction with Creative Space Management, who run the building, so I was going to thank them, but she's not here. So we'll kick straight off, and we're going to look at what gear you need to start. So obviously we've got an array of stuff that we'll take you through, but we're going to just look at basically the basic equipment that you just need to get going. So everyone has a video camera in the pocket, so we all know we all carry a mobile phone. Every mobile phone within the last 2 years is capable of shooting in HD. More recent phones shoot in 4K, so straight away you've got an advantage. You can create right off the bat. You don't need to necessarily have a big expensive camera, £1,000, £2,000 worth of camera to get going. You can do quality video straight off the bat using your mobile phone. Just to reinforce that fact, Steven Soderbergh's been quoted at this year's Sundance Festival saying that he's done directing mainstream movies using big cameras and big equipment, and he's going to shoot purely using iPhones. Unsane, which is his latest movie, which is due to come out shortly, which was, I think, a $30 million budget, was shot entirely on iPhone. Some of his other films include things like All the Oceans, 11, 12, 13, and The Magic Mikes. So this guy is used to working with hundreds of millions of dollars, but doesn't necessarily mean that you need that, which is proof by him using just iPhones. So although everyone has the power to create, having the right gear and tech dramatically improves the production quality. So using better cameras, using things like drones and larger equipment does help the production quality. So we're going to take you through a couple of the bits. I'm going to introduce Scott, who's our head of video, and he'll talk you through some of the tech that we've got here today, and just give you a little bit of background on how that can help with getting sort of higher quality content out.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Right, first off, I don't want to teach anyone to suck eggs, so are there any content producers in the room, just so I know before I start sparking forth? I thought so. Right, so, as Lee just said, the most important thing for me when filming is making sure that it's emotive. It doesn't matter if it's a GoPro, it's an iPhone, it's a Samsung, it's a Red, whatever. It has to be emotive. And that doesn't just mean, for the client, there has to be a purpose for shooting. Now, gear-wise, I'm a proper gearhead, so if you all kind of zone off for the next 10 minutes, then I do apologise, but I'll kind of go through a rough kind of overview of kind of where we are, like tech-wise at the moment with cameras. Lee touched on the 4K ability, which is great, but for, I'm guessing, kind of mainstream social media is still kind of not there. Certainly not, in my experience. So I'll start kind of at this end with this little fella. Awesome. This is an awesome little bit of kit. Now, I think for certainly my experience in shooting on GoPro, it's more first person. Kind of the storytelling, the documentary, fly on the wall, that kind of thing. You're not going to be shooting kind of a feature-length film on this kind of thing, but they are incredible, and a couple of £100. So if you lose them, no biggie. Drones. I don't know if any of you have got a drone. These things, I hate to swear, are fucking horrible. I hate them. Absolutely hate them. Now, don't catch them while they're running. They're horrible. So I thought loads of hype over drones over the last few years in the UK. I thought, right, I need to get one. So I kind of got the first one out from DJI. And I thought, right, I need to test this. This is going to absolutely change my game plan in shooting. Has it? A little bit. I think if you're looking at kind of, if you're, Peter McKinnon is like the guru god in terms of kind of blogs at the moment, and he's really a kind of a drone guy for those big cinematic pans, those kind of things. For me, when I shoot, the clients love them. Oh my God, yeah. You show them a drone and they're literally wetting themselves. Do they know what it is? No, they just know it flies and probably takes out a couple of pigeons on the way. If you can get one of those shots into a reel for them, they're like, oh my God, that was the shot. When really, you'd have been on your back in the grass, kind of covered in bird poo somewhere, trying to get this one low angle shot that's taken you 3 days to get, and all they want is this cinematic drone shot. Why bother? So in terms of drones, for me, I hate them. Clients, they love them, absolutely love them, because it gives, as a video producer, it gives you that ability to get an angle you just cannot get unless you're freakishly tall. Piloting them. Now in the UK, there's been well, there has been for a while, whether you wanted to get away with it or not. There's new legislation, so you have to go and take a pilot's license for a drone. It's not so much of a test, it's kind of how do I say, if anyone's ever been on a speed awareness course, no? Okay, trust me? Good. Then it's kind of like that. It's kind of like a day-long seminar on the basics on how to pilot, go through kind of aviation law, where you can fly them, where you can't fly them, how you should be operating them in safe environments, all that kind of stuff. They don't really go over any of the video or cinematic principles of a drone at all. They don't care if it's a fun drone, it's an octa drone, they don't care. It's literally a drone. So now, if you want to fly a drone, you need a license. It's that simple. It doesn't matter if it's a tiny little DJI Spark or the New Air or something like that, you need a license. Certainly commercially. So that's my view on drones. The golden child. This, for me, in the last 2 years, has absolutely changed the video game for kind of mid-level content producers. Now, this kind of gets set up cost-wise, a couple of thousands, which may seem like a lot. Now, old school, 5-6 years ago, I would have to been getting in dolly rigs, pan planes, that glides, to kind of get something similar to what this kind of gear can achieve. It is absolutely bar none the best gear out there in that price range at the moment. It is phenomenal. I mean, we use it quite a lot. It is just absolutely awesome. It gives you that ability. I mean, I tend to shake quite a lot just because I like coffee. So this for me is incredible. This even makes my video work semi-decent, and then the rest on in edit. It is phenomenal. And is it hard to master? 2 years in, still haven't mastered it, but it's improved my video game. Camera gear. I'm sure you've all got a DSLR, most people have them in their pocket now. So stills wise, not really going over that, but most stills cameras now can shoot incredible video. I'm sure you all know that anyway, so we'll go on to this. Canon 5D Mark IV. For me, it's the Canon range is still the best when it comes to video in that price range. Before kind of getting onto the likes of where you're getting into big cinematic budgets. So for me, this is really my kind of go-to camera in any form of video. Something probably, I don't know, unless you're a content producer, it's always the glass. If you're going to invest money, always go glass. Always 100% go glass. By glass, I mean the lens. So a camera may cost you 2,000. Spend double that on your lenses. It's honestly, it's the most important investment you will make in your gear, bar none. Will the client see a difference? 100%. And that just doesn't mean, from this, it means, from your drones, if you have interchangeable lenses on your drones, go for the higher price bracket lenses. It honestly makes a world of difference. In terms of this as a kind of like a combined, you're probably looking about 4,500, 5,000, then with a decent lens, maybe up to 6,000. However, 2 or 3 years ago, that probably with kind of hiring a similar style of equipment and probably an operator that would have to operate the gimbal for me, and I would maybe be doing it remotely, would be double, if not triple, to get similar kind of shots. So that's kind of an overview of gear. I mean, I could totally go into each of the gears, but obviously I think I've bored you absolutely senseless. The other thing for video, which I think is probably the most important thing from a client point of view, is lighting, which is the hard bit. If you're outside, you can't control it. It's just, if you're shooting natural light, I mean. Now, if we're in a studio, we can obviously use different area lights or daylight balance lights, whatever it may be. So for video, this is fantastic for that, whether it's outside, inside, control lighting, not control lighting. Going back down the range to this little fella, this is, it's shit. In terms of lighting, it's really just not great. If you're a blogger, vlogger, great, it's going to get you content, and you can kind of, as most people do now, model it together in post and try and kind of fix the lighting, the dynamic range, and they are getting better. That's a Hero 4. The Hero 5 is actually way better than that. In terms of drones, again, lighting is a big factor, and that's why most of the time you see all these ad commercials, and certainly the ones we shoot, we tend to shoot at what's called golden hours, where the light is just way better. If you've got, it tends not to happen that much in the UK because we've got shitty cloud. So I think really, in terms of gear, that's probably as much as I can kind of bore you with, but I'll open it up, and I'm sure you've probably got some specific questions when it comes in terms of gear, what you should be using, what you shouldn't be using, where should I be looking for help, who should I not be listening to. Questions? No? No questions? Go for it.
What about sound?
Sound? Yeah, that's, if that's, for me, we kind of do as much of that kind of off camera as possible. That's in all honesty, it's probably so from lighting, gear, sound, which sounds ridiculous, but it's kind of just the way we work it. Depends if you kind of are doing some talking heads, then great, lav mics like these guys are wearing today, perfect. If you're doing a bigger production, if you've got multiple people talking over each other, then you can end up into booms, which are, again, just bigger versions of these. By the way.
What about mirrorless cameras?
Mirrorless. Yeah. So it's got to be one, hasn't there? Android, iPhone, they're awesome. Like, so, the new Sony's incredible, the Olympus is incredible. It's personal preference. When it comes to cameras, there's always a big debate. So, like, I remember moving from from Nikon to Canon. And when I first picked up a Canon, maybe, I don't know, 3 years ago, I felt like I was cheating on my missus. It felt dirty in my hand, I didn't like it, I wanted to put it down, it felt horrible. I actually had a go on the new Sony, maybe about 3 or 4 months ago. I have to say I was quite tempted. It's an awesome piece of kit, but again, with the right lenses. So I would always go with native lenses. If you're going on a mirrorless system, it's like the Sony, don't go for the other kind of Tamron lenses or even Canon. Stick with Sony lenses because they have different fittings and different connections, which can be a little bit slower when you're going through your autofocus, which for video is really important. So mirrorless, I think they're awesome as well. But this, at the moment, I'm not prepared to cheat on just yet.
What are the golden hours for lighting?
So in the UK, never, because it's shit. Normally you've got first thing in the morning, so you've got literally just as the sun's creeping up. So kind of, the only way I can explain it is if you stood facing the sun. It's kind of where it's flat in my face. So you want those very kind of flat, really long shadows. I mean, really, really long. So you're not having to. Lighting's expensive, really, really expensive. Lighting on a set can push your budget up 3, 4, 5 times. It's incredible. So shooting at those times are going to save you money if you can be bothered to get out of bed. That's the only problem. Client. And you also have the reverse, so you have it in the evening as well. Slightly different shadows, but works just as well. Obviously, in the UK, it's a little bit different because you've got so much cloud cover all the time. Abroad, it's a little bit better.
Any others?
No?
No more questions? No? Okay.
Thoroughly bored.
Thanks, mate. Okay, so following on from that, we're going to touch on the growth of video as a format. So the reason why video is becoming more and more important, basically, and how it's grown over the last couple of years. So internet speeds have had a lot to do with how people are adopting video and how widespread it's becoming. So maybe 6, 7 years ago, video was really shaky. Now you can get 30 plus meg on a 4G connection in the city centre. You scroll through Facebook, video is all you see. So the internet speeds and the infrastructure in the UK has had a massive impact on how quickly video has grown. So the big video platforms currently about, so YouTube, Facebook and Instagram are pretty much leading in the space. Twitter and LinkedIn both have capabilities for video, however, arguably YouTube, Facebook and Instagram are more suitable. And then you've got things like Twitch, Periscope, Meerkat, sort of to a lesser extent, and Snapchat, which are more live streaming. So that technology is coming on quite a bit. Twitch is getting quite a lot of coverage at the moment based on big vloggers moving to that platform. So you've got people like Casey Neistat, who's sort of leading the way. He's a huge YouTuber. He sort of controls that platform. He's now moving to Twitch. and doing a lot of video on there. So that's something to watch out for. But I think the YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram are really leading the way, both in implementation, speed, things like that. So just to put that into context, by 2020, videos will account for 79% of global internet traffic. That's in itself is something to take note of. In the past 30 days alone, there's been more video uploaded to the internet than the last 30 years of TV. So that, again, just reinforces where we're going. Digital content and video is going to pretty much wipe out traditional TV over the next maybe 10 years, I would say. People are spending approximately 2 hours a day minimum consuming video, whether that be online on the mobile device. Things like Netflix, Amazon Prime are creeping into those stats. And then the final one, which is impressive on quite a few different levels, is there's over 400 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every minute. So that is just a ridiculous stat for how much video is not only being created, but it's being consumed. That desire to consume the video is there. So these platforms are taking that much video. So you may already be producing a lot of content. How do you find the time to do video as well? It's just another thing to contend with if you're a content marketer, if you're a marketing agency, if you're a brand, you've already got a lot of sort of plates in the air. Video is just another format. So how do you sort of work that into what you're doing and stay current in terms of the content that you're producing? What about moving completely to video? Sitting video at the top of your tree and using that as the primary form of content. And what I mean by that is, if you use video as your main pillar, you've then got all these other types of content that you can spin out of that video. So for example, let's say you create one pillar video and maybe a 10-minute piece. You've then, while you're shooting that, got the option of doing live streams. So that's instantly, depending on how many networks you want to take advantage of, another couple of pieces of content. You can then look at producing 3 or 4 social shorts. So what I mean by that is 1-minute clips that you can just pull straight from the main video. You can then transcribe that content, which would sit on your site as a blog post. So you can do that with the social shorts. So let's say you create 3 social shorts, you transcribe each one of those, you've got 3 blog posts. That gets pushed across at least 4 social networks. You've got Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, whichever's more applicable for your audience. Then you've got your social media images, so you can pull stills out of the video that you're producing. So again, all driven by that main pillar piece of video. Email, so if you're collecting email addresses on your website for a newsletter, that can then also be taken advantage of. This content can go out to those kind of people. So instantly from that 1 10-minute video, what you end up with is 13 pieces of content across 11 different networks. So you're essentially leaving with 24 pieces of content. So if you move to video and it works and you can find your flow with it and you can experiment with it, you can generate a plethora of content off the back of it without having to think, I need to stop writing to accommodate video, things like that. So does that work? In January, we moved to that as a strategy for our business. And this is, to date, the stats that we've got. So website traffic has gone up 177%. Conversions, so inquiries through our website alone, has gone up 213%. We've seen a pretty big jump in some rankings for some key terms for us, such as Leeds Digital Agency, which we're now on page 1 for. Historically, over the last 3 years, we've been around page 2, page 3. Our Twitter followers have tripled. YouTube watch time has increased by 800% after its first month. Obviously, there's a little bit of a caveat there. It's going to inherently increase with more content that you're putting out. And then the final stat there, Twitter impressions from pushing out social media shorts, so like 15-second clips, 30-second clips that we're pulling out of these videos, has increased our impression share by nearly 2,000%. So for us, being a medium-sized business, that's really significant. And this is all from sitting down in December and going, right, we're going to go all in on video. We're going to use it as our primary format. And we're really going to push, and we're going to create all this other content off the back of it. So in short, we think it works, which is why we're here today. So moving on from that, I want to talk a little bit about the power of brand storytelling. So obviously, The ability to tell your story as a brand, regardless of what sector you're in, is easier than ever. It makes you personable. It allows you the opportunity to get your voice across and talk about your product without selling directly. So marketing is no longer about the stuff you make, but about the stories you tell. It's a pretty generic quote from Seth Godin, but it does make sense. Storytelling has been around for thousands and thousands of years, right from cave paintings. All that video does with internet speeds, adoption, distribution being better, is it allows us to tell the stories that we want to tell at a pace which matches modern attention spans. So an image of a chap ignoring his missus at a dinner there just reflects that. So obviously our attention spans are becoming shorter and shorter because the access that we have to that content is just vast and it's fast. We want the content there, we want it now. So our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. And what video allows you to do is capture your audience's imagination and tell that story. You can tell much more in a 10-second video than you can in a 2,000-word blog post. So video allows brands to capture imagination, provoke emotion, create affinity, and promote their products without selling it. So it's all about having the right narrative, thinking about who your audience is, who you're talking to, and hooking them in. So if you can hook them in with a video, they'll pay your video attention for however long it will be, let's say 3 minutes, and that is just gold for a brand. So to reinforce that, I'm just going to show you an example of a video that I think does a great job of telling a story. It's an online-only video. It's not been turned into a TV ad, although it's a big brand and the production behind it will have been a valuable amount of money. It still tells the story that I'm after.
Honey, you don't have to worry. Everyone's a little bit nervous on their first day of school.
I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, you do. You can decide.
So, I can decide?
Yeah. You're in control. Imagine that. Go on. Imagine it.
Maybe I can make some new friends.
Okay. And what are their names?
Telly and Belly.
Good morning, This is
I'm gonna spend every lunchtime with them for the next 100 years.
Oh, really? 100 years is a long time.
Well, at least as long as we can then. It will be hard, but we promise to call each other.
And then?
Then I'll study hard and focus on school.
Okay. Then what happens?
Then I'll travel the world. Do you want to come with me, Mum?
Oh, I don't think you'll be alone. I'm sure you'll meet somebody nice along the way.
What do you mean?
Nothing. Carry on.
And I'll get a job.
Cool. If you're happy, I'm happy.
Then I'll meet someone.
Okay.
Hey Jean, here's Natalie.
You're late.
I'm sorry.
And I want a house.
Of course.
You're on your way to work right now?
Like the one we have.
Yeah?
And my own family.
Uh-huh.
And my daughter.
Well, that sounds good. And then what?
And I can sing the...
Well, that sounds like a good plan. Don't you think?
yeah, let's see what happens.
So that example, Volvo understand exactly who they're targeting with that video, instantly provoking an emotional response and using a narrative that matters and is important to their customer. So a lot of Volvo customers are going to have kids. So instantly, when you see that beautiful little girl at the start of the video having issues, you're hooked in. That appeals directly to their audience. A story told which creates an emotional affinity to Volvo and communicates one of their historic USPs. So without actually physically pushing the product in front of you, they're reinforcing the fact that they drive safety home as one of their key areas. They're doing that kind of content across the internet quite a lot, and it's having a real impact. So that video was released in June in 2017. To date, it's had just short of 1 million views, which for a channel on YouTube that has a relatively small following of under 100,000 subscribers is quite impressive. It's also received some of the most impassioned comments that YouTube has ever seen. So that is just one example there. If you can get your customers saying things like that, or if you can get your audience saying things like that about you from producing a piece of content, that's the goal. So you've won, in my opinion. So that comment is great. I think that would be something that anyone would want to shoot for, regardless of whether you're trying to sell a car or whether you're just making content because you love making content. That's what video allows you to do. So in light of that, I'm going to hand over to Jamie, who is our Chief Technical Officer. He's going to take you through how to implement video properly, and using sort of search engine optimization in the back of your mind, so that when you are publishing these videos, you've got the right visibility and everything's going to run and give your users the best experience possible. So,
thanks. Yep. So as Lee said, I'm Jamie. I'm in charge of most of the technical stuff at Flaunt. I'm going to talk about how to implement video on your website, and then do it with search in mind too. So the last thing I want to do is implement video without playing by Google's rules, basically, because you want maximum exposure from this kind of stuff. So Scott's told you all the stuff to buy. Lee's told you all the cool facts and the wider, bigger picture about video. And I'm going to jump straight into some technical stuff. Hopefully it won't be too boring. Yeah, I've got slides unlike Scott, but here we are. So there's one big question basically with implementing video on your website. One, which I'm going to call self-hosted, which is basically meaning HTML5 video. And the other one, which I'm going to get onto in a sec, is third-party hosting, so using a platform like YouTube and other alternatives like that. So we're going to talk about self-hosted first. So there's a few key points of why you'd want to go down the self-hosted route. Number one would be better compatibility for things like autoplay. So this is something that clients are after all the time now. So when you land on the website, they want their big striking video they've paid a lot of money for to start playing instantly. So this is something that a self-hosted HTML5 video is much better suited to. You might have problems with cross-device compatibility, trying to get things to autoplay when you're using a third-party platform like YouTube. So they might have that option there, but you find nowadays that iOS, Android, Windows Phone, etc. are really picky about which videos they allow to play and adhering by best practice in order to allow that. So this is something where you get that fine-grained control to allow stuff like that, which is really important for a lot of clients' websites. Second one's no locking. So if you're self-hosting your videos, you can move them wherever you want. So you can host them with Amazon, you can host them with Microsoft, you can host them with another CDN, Mac CDN. There's loads that'll host your videos for you and serve them. So you can literally just swap out the file sources, and then you're away. You can move the backend wherever you want. This is different to having a third party, because for example, if you're with YouTube, you got all your videos on there, and then next week you want to swap to Vimeo, for example, you're going to have a hard time. So you have to re-implement it. So it might be an iframe, might be a JavaScript widget. It might break the look and feel of your website. You might lose all your analytics, so all your video views. You might lose all your followers from that platform. So there's a few things to consider there in terms of picking the right platform, which are taken away from you if you do it like this. No dependencies, so similar to lock-in. If you went with YouTube, for example, what's to say that in a year's time after you've built your following on YouTube that they don't just shove really extended ads on all the videos and then charge you to get rid of them? And then obviously you have got no choice, so you've adhered to that or move. And then you come back to a lock-in problem. So YouTube have done this recently, which Lee probably, or Chris might touch on in terms of shoving ads at the start of your videos. So you probably noticed it in the last year. You've got to sit through it like a 5-second clip. So that could get worse. No one really knows. Much easier for developers and modern browsers. similar to compatibility for autoplay. So if a client asks you to do something really snazzy on the video, say they want it to whiz in from the side, or they want to overlay some stuff on it, or you want to jump to a specific section of it, or you want to do something really cool like overlay it and green screen it onto something else, you're going to have a hard time with a third-party provider that's got an iframe tag, for example. It's much easier with a HTML5 video tag. That also links into that it's better for technical SEO. So once you get into the nitty-gritty of video and you've invested a lot of money in it, you might want things like subtitles, which might be in 10 different languages, and you might want to output them in a specific way that might adhere to Google or another search engine. So as soon as you start getting into nitty-gritty with those things on third-party platforms like YouTube or Vimeo, they could just put that in the enterprise plan, for example, and start charging you a monthly fee. Whereas if you're on HTML5 video and you're self-hosting it, you can do what you want. So it's much better for adhering to technical SEO stuff, and this is changing daily as well. So they'll bring out new technical SEO things that Lee and other technical SEO guys will ask the developers to put in. It's much easier if you've got that fine-grained control. So that's really important. And this is a quick example of what I mean by HTML5 video. So this is something we've done for a client, and so I was talking about making it easy for developers in order to do snazzy things. So you're basically overlaying the entire nav onto the video. You've got buttons, call to actions on the video. You've got a big sort of translucent overlay on the video. It's auto-playing, it's looping, and all these things, if you were to ask someone like me to put this on with YouTube, you'd have a hard time basically, because YouTube don't offer the flexibility to allow developers to do this easily, and do it by allowing device compatibility as well. So yeah, you'll have much easier time doing this if you're self-hosting it, and your developers will. So, hosted by a third party. So this is like putting it on YouTube. So this is the easy route. So it's much easier to just grab a tag off YouTube. They'll offer it for you. If you just click embed, they'll give you an iframe tag. You stick that on your site and you're done. So if you're not a techie and you don't want to get a developer involved, and this is the easy route, it's a really quick and fast way to get video on your site. One of the key points at the top there, no bandwidth costs. So if you're self-hosting these files, you're going to have to put them somewhere. If you put them somewhere that you're not in charge of, then you're going to have to pay for it. With YouTube, you can save as much video as you want. They're never going to charge you. They'll charge you for enterprise level features, similar to other platforms. Better discoverability. So as soon as you put your stuff on YouTube, everyone can see it. So you've got your channel, you can make playlists, etc., etc. This is really important if you're a small business getting started. You want to get your videos in front of everyone. Easy to set up advanced stuff. So live streaming is something that we're doing today. And that's something that if you want to go down the self-hosted route, you're going to have a really hard time setting that up. So you're much better off just going with YouTube for that kind of stuff, or Twitch, or one of the other ones that Lee pointed out. Transcoding. So if you're hosting it yourself, you're likely going to want to transcode it into the best format. So there's multiple ones that I'll get onto in a sec. But basically, if you're on a third party, you just stick your file up there and they'll take care of all that stuff. So that's much easier for non-techies. And then pricing. So this is something that I touched on a minute ago. So as soon as you start getting into, say you want to brand the little player, YouTube don't really want you to do that. They want their branding on there, because obviously they're offering their service for free. So they want something back. So as soon as you got HTML5 video rather than this, or self-hosted as I keep calling it, then you can have these enterprise features. You just got to basically get the developer to put it in. So this is a quick example of a third-party hosted video. So it's just a YouTube embed. So they'll give you the code for this. It's just an iframe, you just stick it in your site and it's done, styled. The controls work, and away you go, dead easy. Next bit, so this isn't really a big consideration for third parties. Like I say, you'll just save your video, put it up, and then the third party will take care of it all. So this is more to do with self-hosting it. So you've got a few different formats, so MP4 is probably the most common, but you've got a few others like WebM. So WebM is Google's own container. So it's totally royalty-free and it's open source. And obviously Google, considering it's theirs, like to push the new features into Chrome a lot faster with WebM. So MP4 tends to lag behind if you want cool stuff like green screen or anything like that. Resolution. If you're serving the files yourself, don't bother with 4K because it's going to take forever to download. And people don't have high-res enough screens to view it most of the time, especially on mobile, and especially when you're dealing with mobile networks, they don't want that big file. So generally we just stick to 720p files on websites. With YouTube, like I say, you do a higher res and then the device can pick, or the user can pick. In terms of file size, so if you're auto-playing, you've got to have it muted, so you may as well get rid of the audio track straight away. So this is something you text straight out and you'd reduce that file size immediately. So that's a consideration that you're probably going to want to take into account if you wanted to do autoplay. And then tooling. So there's numerous ways of converting your files, transcoding them, turning down the resolution, etc. I'm just going to click through a few. The first one's pretty scary. So the first one's FFmpeg. This is basically a command line program. You'll find a lot of the programs with user interfaces are built on top of this technology. So this basically lets you do anything you want. So any codecs, containers, FFmpeg can do it as long as you know the commands. So you can Google around it, but a lot of people don't really want to get stuck into this. It's a bit of a minefield. But essentially this is what a lot of things are built on top of, including Handbrake, which is a really popular cross-platform piece of software, totally free. And this lets you transcode. You can pick your resolution, your frames per second, codecs, your audio track, and you can do subtitles, you can do chapters, everything in here. So it's a really cool piece of software. If you don't want to do any of that, and you're totally averse to being a techie, then you can use some of these online things. So I stick stuff in this quite often, it's pretty easy. But you've got to wait for it to upload and download, because it's obviously on a server somewhere. And you don't know what they're doing with your files, so if it's a commercial thing or you're on NDA or whatever, you shouldn't be using something like this. You need to do it yourself. And you're not sending it to this dodgy company who no one knows who they are. But each their own, pick what you want, pick what you find easiest. Hosting your files. So like I said, with self-hosted, you've got to host it. So it's up to you where you put it. We're big advocates of Amazon's AWS service, and they provide multiple different services such as S3 and CloudFront to help you with stuff like this. So going back to Lee mentioning Twitch, which is a huge, huge service, streaming God knows how many videos at once. That's all built on top of Amazon's system, so they're using these same technologies. And you can use these as well for cheap, which is amazing. So don't just stick it in the web root of your website, especially if you have a cheap provider like GoDaddy or 123reg or whatever, because they'll probably charge you bandwidth per megabyte or per gigabyte. So if you're streaming loads of videos and you've not got a CDN between the user and your website, then everyone's going to be streaming directly from your server and it'll cost you a lot of money. To put that into comparison, we serve about 200 gigabytes a month through that website I showed you right at the start, and it costs us about 15 quid a month. Now, if that was with GoDaddy or something like that, it'd be a lot more money than that, put it that way. And it's dead easy to set up. Looks a bit scary at first, but there's loads of great tutorials about this online. But basically, you've always got to use a CDN. Don't ever put videos on your site directly, because you'll pay for it, and you won't like it. Third parties. So YouTube's the go-to one. Everyone's heard of YouTube. Everyone recognises that little play button with the red background. It's pretty common though, so you tend to find big enterprise sites that try to show off their video work, for example, or they've paid for TV level commercials. Sometimes they'll come off YouTube and they'll self-host, or they'll go on a niche platform, so there's a couple of niche ones listed there. And that's just because YouTube's a bit common now. It seems so accessible that it also almost dilutes your brand. So that's when these other ones come into play. So like Vimeo, for example. Vimeo's great with like indie filmmakers and people that just want it to look a bit different, and you don't want to look like you just stuck it on YouTube and you've done it on your phone, you've sort of put a bit more effort into it. And they also offer pro features that are quite affordable. So you can do things like take the branding off the little video player, or you can change the colours of it. And then Wistia, which is more of a sort of marketing focused one. So their USP, supposedly, is that they automate loads of SEO stuff, there's technical SEO stuff. So you don't know how true that is because it's in the little iframe, but supposedly they inject stuff into your header of your website to help with your SEO in terms of the videos that are embedded on the page. So how well that works is something that you'd have to test, really. It's not something that's cut and dry. But that's their angle on flogging their video player. Similar to Vimeo in terms of their enterprise features, quite cheap. And again, lets you take the branding off, lets you change the colours. So if you're really protective about your website and your colour scheme and your brand guidelines, then you probably can't go with YouTube, or you're going to get the big red play button on the middle of it. And it'll look all common. And my last bit, a couple more bits. Playing nice with SEO. So the whole thing here is making sure that you've ticked all your technical SEO boxes. So like I say, if you put it on a third party, say you picked Vimeo, for example, you've immediately got a bit of a problem there because Google on YouTube. So Google are always going to put YouTube stuff or preference towards YouTube as a platform rather than a third party host that they don't care about. So there's probably some sort of law there where they're not allowed to do that, but they'll find a loophole like they do. So yeah, and if you want to do stuff, like I said right back at the start, like you've got subtitles in 10 different languages, for example, you're going to have a problem there because YouTube might not even support those features from knowledge. And if they do, it might be a paid plan, or they might move it into a paid plan later. And then, for example, if you've got a CMS, you want to upload these videos somewhere, you might want the CMS to also host all the transcriptions and all the subtitles. But you're probably going to have a very big problem doing that if you want to use a third party. Whereas if you've got it all self-hosted, you can build that code and you can pull from your CMS. You can use any translation tool you like, it's all up to you. Always have transcriptions available. This is probably the biggest thing. So search engines can't index video themselves. They need the words reading out to them. I mean, best case, let's say Google decided to try transcoding the videos real time and ranking that content. Probably still going to have a hard time with my accent or anyone else's. So, and that's similar point to the third one there, metadata. So anything you can provide in the tag, or anything that third party can provide, the more the better. It's the same with most things on the web now. The more metadata you can provide, whether it's rich snippets, event data, head meta tags, anything like that, the more you can provide, the better. And this applies to video just as much as anything else, because there's so much content there. You've got the audio track, the video track, transcriptions in 5 languages, title, placeholder image. There's tons of things you can add to these bits of content that'll just make search engines love it. Subtitles, always useful. Again, this is another thing, going back to self-hosted or third party. If you've got subtitles for your video and you've gone to that length of transcribing it and then setting up which time ranges they apply to, then you're probably going to make a bit of a song and dance about it. So you're probably going to want to have it underneath, you might want it scrolling, you might want it to appear, and you lose that flexibility with a third party. You might be able to pay a bit more, like I say, and go on an enterprise plan and do that, but if you're in control of the code and it's on your website, you're going to have a much easier time doing cool stuff like that. Fallback content, so this is really important now. A lot of people on mobile networks, you don't know if they're going to be able to stream your video. So with the HTML5 video tag, you've got the, you can do whatever you want. So you can detect if they've got an internet signal or a strong enough internet connection. And if they haven't, you can show them a little GIF preview, or you can just show them an image, and that won't screw up the layout of your website. Whereas if you're using YouTube or Vimeo or Wistia or any other platforms, you might find that you're struggling to use fallbacks in a decent way without sort of just putting the iframe there and seeing if it fails, which is a bit more of a time-consuming thing for the device to do. And as Lee says, with the multi-channel stuff, best practice, if you've got a cool video, don't just dump it out in a video and that's it on the web page. Always put a transcription with it. So you're definitely going to want to get stuff transcribed. We use a service called SpeechPad. It's dead cheap. You just send them your video, send them a YouTube link, and they'll do it for like $1 or something, or $1 a minute. $1 a minute, and they'll just transcribe it all. They're pretty good at understanding Yorkshire accents. And you just plug that back into a blog post. You've got your video at the top, and if you don't want to watch the video, if you're in a library or whatever, you just read the piece instead. It's much easier for search engines to index that content as well, which is one of the reasons why our keyword rankings have gone up, because we've got so much content now from all this video stuff we've had transcribed. Just check my notes. So I think that's it. I've just got a quick couple of screenshots about what I was discussing. So this is just a Google search for Flaunt Digital Studios. You can see there that video thumbnail's pulled in. So that's good use of technical SEO in terms of embedding a video on your site. And that's actually a YouTube embed. That's not a self-hosted HTML5 video embed. So that's actually worked quite well. I was quite surprised by that. I was under the impression that we might struggle to get a picture thumbnail into the SERP with a YouTube embed, but that just goes to show that you can tick some technical SEO boxes or some basic ones quite easily with these third parties. So it's not the be all and end all. If you want to comply with more technical SEO things that you need to have an embedded video, HTML5 video, you can use third parties and do it. I'd love to run a test on that and swap that to Vimeo and see if it still came up. Because obviously, like I said, Google owns YouTube, so Google are always going to want to put the YouTube stuff in there, but they may not want to put their competitors' stuff in there just to make people switch.
Is there anything against using, say, Vimeo on your own site, but just uploading a duplicate to YouTube for that visibility then?
Yeah, but then what you're going to do is, you've got a few little problems there. So if you've got subtitles and transcriptions that we keep talking about, yeah, you've got to manage them in 2 places. All your viewer figures and your viewership's going to be in 2 places. You've got to make a choice about which one you embed on your site, or whether you do both, or whether you do 2 links. But yeah, there's no reason why you can't do that. Is there anything SEO-wise? There won't be a duplicate content issue there, would there? No. Yeah, it's a good idea. You'll have to upload it 2 places, manage 2 channels, manage 2 sets of transcriptions.
Yeah.
Other than that...
Does YouTube not automatically transcribe
Yeah, but it's pretty ropey from what I've seen. Yeah, you'd have to be speaking the Queen's English, I think, very slowly, unlike me. But yeah, if you're up for the task of managing more than one place at once, then yeah, you can do that.
No, I thought I'd ask the question.
Yeah, I think that's the main drawback. Would you say? Yeah. Yeah. Do we just use YouTube and not other ones? Yeah.
For us.
Yeah, I don't think we bother with Vimeo and other ones. It depends what type of features you're after as well. So Vimeo does some other stuff slightly different to YouTube, and some of the enterprise level stuff might be easier or slightly cheaper. But YouTube obviously got a much bigger user base, totally dwarfs the other ones. So it depends. Yeah, admin for managing multiple channels would be the main drawback, I think. And this is an example of one of our pieces of video content with a transcription underneath. So it's dead simple. You just put your YouTube embed up at the top. We've got the common red YouTube icon. Which isn't a bad thing really, because we don't mind, we like YouTube. And then you just short intro and then the video transcription. Obviously we've got multiple people talking in that video, so you pass that to SpeechPad, am I right? Yep. And they'll just put the names next to the right people, which is pretty useful. And then that can all get indexed just as like a normal blog post, saves you writing it all out. Dead easy for the cost. It's worth it to make your content go a bit further. That's pretty much it, I think. Yep. So now we've gone through the gear. Lee's gone through all video overview and video as a channel. I've told you how to implement it roughly, and now Chris is going to tell you how to promote it. He's there.
Can I ask a question?
Of course you can, yeah.
So you mentioned we could use HTML5 to play videos.
Mm.
Did you come across platforms or browsers which were really picky about it, or you had to hack it about to make it work?
Not modern browsers, no. You might get problems with Internet Explorer 8 or something from the Stone Age, but yeah, the modern stuff's great. iOS is great now, Android's great. Any modern Microsoft browsers are great. Edge, the latest IE 11, I believe, is fine with HTML5 video. Some of the more advanced features might struggle to show you, so if you're making use of advanced feature in WebM that I touched on, like green screening, you're probably not going to be able to do that. You're probably going to need the latest or a recent version of Chrome to do stuff like that. But it should fall back. And one of the great things with HTML5 is you can supply multiple formats. So if you're using WebM, for example, you can just supply the OGG file, the MP4 file, and supply them in order of preference. And then it's up to the browser to pick it, which is great because say you put it on YouTube, for example, those formats may not be served to the browser in that manner, so it might not, the browser or the device might not be able to intelligently select the one that it wants to use. So like Safari, for example, is probably going to pick the .ogg file, whereas Chrome will pretty much always pick the WebM file. And then IE or Firefox might pick the MP4 file, whichever one it likes best, so it's up to the device to figure it out, which is the best way, really. Okay. Anything else? We're doing a Q&A at the end, by the way, so don't worry if you've got stuff written down. But yeah, thanks.
All right.
Off you go.
Who loves those really annoying ads that follow you around the internet all day? That's pretty much what I do. Sorry about that. Not sorry. No, but what we've noticed in recent years is that there's been a massive adoption to video as a preferred ad content in advertising. We do everything pretty much the social, programmatic, PPC, everything like that, but we've noticed there's been a real appetite for video, which isn't really a surprise based on what these guys are saying. It's what everybody wants to do. It's the shift that everybody's making in the paid marketing area. And I'm sure you're familiar with the variety of different ad formats that you get now. Advertisers can pretty much get in front of you wherever you are, cross-screen, cross-platform, pretty much get in your space and obviously harness the data they've got. There's there's loads of different targeting segments and data signals that paid advertisers can leverage to get in front of their key audience now, more powerful than they've ever been before. And that's why you'll probably notice that when you are browsing Facebook, for example, the content that you're being served is more relevant than it's ever been before. So there's tons of different signals that you can use to make sure that the content's more relevant. And like I say, video is becoming one of the most used ad formats that we've used. I think the ones that you'll probably be the most familiar with is things like your social feeds on Facebook and Twitter now. It's just absolutely littered with video ad content. and across YouTube. Some of the legacy platforms there, like YouTube, all the pre-roll and masthead ad creative formats, and then there's just the regular content website formats that you get, or if you browse in article, like an instant Facebook instant article, something like that. So they're popping up left, right, and center. And then there's some more custom ad formats, like your in-app ones and your interstitial, expandable ones that are a little bit more disruptive, but generally do well on a performance level. And you got to remember as well, in paid advertising, we put a lot of emphasis on trackability and measurement. So, you know, we know that this stuff is working. There's been massive improvements to tracking transparency in paid advertising in recent years as well. So we know that the money that we're putting in, we're getting out, or we're not, and we're changing strategy. But yeah, we can pretty much get in front of you wherever you are, but we won't kill you. Yeah, so it's so big, in fact, that in the US, it's managed to increase its digital ad spend share by 10% in the last 6 years, which is pretty phenomenal. And along with other rich media formats like your HTML animated stuff as well. But I think video has seen the biggest increase there. And what we'll probably see over time is just the static banner imagery that you see on content websites. That'll probably be completely superseded by video content over time. And you can sort of understand that from your own experiences as well. When you're browsing a content website and say there's 2 or 3 different ads above the fold, and in your view, if one's animated or one's video, it's that one that's going to grab your attention. And there's a lot of evidence to support that now as well. And I think as well, it's estimated, video ads are estimated in the US to become, I think, an £18 billion industry this year, which is pretty phenomenal. That's pretty huge. So video has been around forever, right? So why is it only now that we're seeing so many more ads? One of the first things is obviously that video shooting and production is a lot more affordable than it's ever been. It was only really bigger brands and advertisers that in the past could really afford the costs of production and editing and everything else that goes with it, and actually piecing that all together. Now it's a little bit more affordable. It's driving down the price, and smaller agencies and advertisers are able to get on board with it. Ad servers and file sizes as well. Ad servers were as sophisticated as what they are now, and obviously video file sizes are pretty enormous as they are as well. And then paid advertisers would go and wrap video creative in a load of different tracking tags as well, which would further bulk out the file size, which would obviously have an impact on the load speeds, which have been terribly slow in the past. And it wasn't always seen as an efficient method for advertisers, because half the time the impression of the video would get served and they've already lost the attention of the user, and it's not even loaded in time, but obviously the advertiser's already paid by that point, so it's not been the most efficient. And like I said before, hard to tell whether you're just throwing your money at the wall there or not. I think it comes down to a bit of a vanity thing with a lot of advertisers as well. They just like the brand being out there. And I think there's been a lot more emphasis put on that in recent years. Video eventually is quite expensive as well to buy versus other creative formats, which isn't hard to understand. You can get your message over more concisely, and tell a better story in a shorter space of time than you can do with just a boring static banner. So there's been a lot more competition for video inventory, and obviously publishers are lapping that up now. They're loving the fact that they're able to charge a little bit more, and there's a lot more publishers that are actually supporting video content on site as well. It's much more of a lucrative ad format for those guys, so why wouldn't you? And like I say, measurement of ad performance as well. A lot of advertisers are wising up to the fact now that they can actually buy tools or get access to tools that are going to properly attribute on a bottom line revenue and ROI level that the video is actually an effective route. as well. And that ties in with what I said just then as well. It has been a massive vanity thing for a lot of brands before, but we've only just reached now, over the last couple of years, a point where video advertisers can confidently say, yes, this is driving my bottom line revenue. A couple of growth factors, probably really obvious ones here as well, but there's more affordable mobile data packages about now. I think you can get a 5 gig data package for around 12 or 15 quid, which is really competitive. So there's a lot more data usage than there's ever been before. There's better accessibility to Wi-Fi, hotspots and stuff like that. You can pretty much get it wherever you go. So there's people just generally using it a lot more. Better mobile coverage as well. So there's mass going up left, right and center as well. So the frequency that people are able to access the data is improving as well. And higher resolution mobile screens as well. I think that's really taken off in the last 5 years. You're getting, high resolution HD and 4K screens now. So there's a much bigger incentive there for people to actually watch video. And improved monetization for publishers supporting video as well. Like I say, they want to invest in that. They want to make sure that the infrastructure on the site is in place and in good nick to be serving video creative, because they'll make more money from it. And as a result of that, advertisers are seeing better results from video as well. So it works both ways. Like I say, I think eventually over time what you'll see is you'll see a complete cessation of obviously the standard traditional banner ad creatives and more video. It might become a little bit annoying and a bit distracting from time to time, so it'd be interesting to see what happens in the next stage of evolution of that. And finally, ad technologies improvements as well. This is really, really vast. I can't tell you how much this has improved in recent years. When I started out, and it was pretty much AdWords, a really basic AdWords interface. The ad technologies now have grown so much that you can pretty much incorporate and integrate every single sort of paid ad channel, and there's a lot more attribution tools in there as well to make, piece together how these are all interacting with each other and how they're actually contributing to each other. And like I say, when I first started out, you measured everything on a last click basis. So if your video, it wasn't driving any last clicks, which it probably won't do because people are aware now that there's a much longer purchase cycle, then your client would turn around to you and say, well, what's all this about? It's not actually driven any sales on a last click basis, which we all know is a load of rubbish now. And there's a lot more that goes on in that purchase cycle. So, like I said before, there's a lot more publishers that are supporting it, and it really is driving the digital economy. So, I think it's expected by 2020 in the US, video will be worth $22 billion as an industry, which is pretty enormous. And I think it's on that upward trajectory. It's probably going to increase even more. But like I say, it's driving the digital economy. Publishers are supporting it. Advertisers want it because it drives better results. And there's some impressive industry statistics to back it up as well. It's not just a load of fluff. There's some hard and fast stats here. So video as an ad format versus all other digital display ad formats generates 40% greater message recall. It also has 27% higher click-through rates and 34% higher conversion rates. So it is really an effective method for your paid advertising. And I think that pretty much concludes the session. I think we're going to stand up here and take a couple of questions. If anybody's got any more, you might not have, so you can just clear off if you don't want to stay.